Today we're talking about the surprise Concord shutdown, diving into the Zelda Echoes of Wisdom and Astrobot review roundups, and is Helldivers finally getting a new enemy? Plus, we're dissecting the latest Minecraft movie trailer. Will it flop harder than Borderlands? Stick around to find out. Welcome, friends, to this week's episode of Good Playing with You, our weekly gaming podcast. I'm Dan Whitehill, and as always, I'm joined by our Good Playing Good buddies, Matt Lord.
Hey, how's it going?
And Matt Maulding.
Hey now.
Before we jump into the headlines, let's check in with my trusty troop of Matts and find out what everyone's been playing this week. Lord?
Yeah, I couldn't help myself. I actually got into, I mentioned last week how I begged for the a access code for Deadlock, Valve's new game, and I was able.
And it's a hero shooter.
It's a hero shooter, and it's a MOBA, and
it has a lot more players than Concord. I hear
it has a lot more players than Concord.
And it's not even out yet.
It's not even out yet. I'm very impressed with this game. I can definitely tell this game has a lot of potential. I've never played a game like League of Legends. Oh, I have very briefly, but like these lane shooters with your little fill enemies running up and down the lanes, and you're just trying to, kill their defenses, and all the while your character has very similar abilities to an Overwatch character. There's characters that kind of play like Mei or Torbjorn, where you have your turrets, and it's really cool. And you can tell, and all the while you're kind of buying these upgrades while the match is going on. And I just think it's a very unique type of game. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it feels like a game that's going to be strictly PC. I'd be really surprised if this somehow came out to console, but having a lot of fun there.
It'll be a hit, you think?
I think it'll be a hit. I think it could go up against I like the fact that it feels like a shooter. It's third person, so you're getting like your weapons. And my gripe with like League of Legends or like Heroes of the Storm is there's not that like shooter aspect to those games. I think it's a lot of like hand-to-hand type of thing, and it just feels like you're right in it because it is third person and you're just in the action.
Nice.
But besides that, I stuck with a little Valve theme and played some Half-Life Blue Shift, which is a spin-off of the original Half-Life. Really great game. You can pick it up for $5 on Steam. It's just easy, pick it up, play it on the Steam Deck. You're basically the security guard while Gordon Freeman is doing his experiments and everything goes wrong, and you're basically living like a hellish day on the job. It's really fun. It's kind of awesome. It's my first time playing it. I recommend that one as well. But that's been it for me this week.
Nice. Maulding?
Kunitsu-Gami has been me all week long, and
so you're into it. You're sold.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I think I'm almost finished with the main story, and then you go back and do I think you'd go back and try to finish challenges and whatnot. That's my assumption, but I don't think I've ever played any game like it before. Like it's got that tower defense bit to it. And then there's some action RPG elements and then town building. It's really fun. I've been really, really enjoying it.
That's awesome.
Thank you for that recommendation, Lord, because I think you put it in a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I need to play more.
But I remember seeing it in one of the directs and being interested in it. But
I feel like
getting your hands on it, it's
the direct didn't really show that it was like a tower defense, or it just looked like
it didn't make sense to me.
Tower defense is really having a moment right now.
Yeah. So that is, I started playing Age of Mythology last night. I'm not far enough into it to really give it a good take on it. It was one of the ones from one of the directs that I was most excited to play. So I'll be interested next week when I have more experience with it to give you a a good mini review of it. But yeah, that's it. And then of course lots of Overwatch. Always Overwatch.
Maulding, did you buy the $6 DLC for 22-year-old like JPEGs in Age of Mythology?
Absolutely not. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
No
I
way.
read about
Oh my
that.
God.
People are having a field day.
They're going
No.
nuts.
Yeah, they're saying it's worse than horse armor
That's
Nope.
for
insane.
$13. Yeah,
Ridiculous.
that's bringing it back.
That is.
What about you,
Well,
Dan?
in terms of myself, I've been playing South Park Snow Day. Random choice, I know, but it was a long weekend, and I don't know how it happened. I got it on sale, thankfully. It's not bad. It is a co-op based, kind of shooter action game, and it's pretty fun. It's not bad. It's very small. And you have to really grindy if you really want to level up and do everything. But to be honest with you, like if it weren't a South Park game, I don't think I'd be playing it. It's not bad combat wise. The South Park, sense of humor definitely saves it. It's something to, play with your buddies to pass the time, especially with the holidays coming up. I gotta imagine it's going to go on sale, but it's definitely nothing compared to those first two turn-based games that were just phenomenal. Obsidian knocked it out of the park the first time. Ubisoft got real comfortable on their coattails with the second game, but this third game is kind of a cash in, but not too bad. Still pretty fun.
Is it like a shooter?
No, you do have like a melee class, and then you do have like a ranged, but it's pretty close combat all the way through the game. And it's just levels and boss.
I remember that one getting like some mixed reviews. Dan, do you agree with that?
100%, because I can see people like Obsidian just did such an amazing job with that first one. They knocked it out of the park. And then the second one was fun too. And those were big, meaty, like $60 games for their day. So I'm sure people were expecting the same kind of experience because 1 and 2 were so iconic. And then this is just a completely different game that, it's a lot smaller. It's criminal that they charged $40 for this initially. It should have easily been a $20 game. It's 4, maybe 5 hours if you just go through the campaign.
Oh my God.
That's really short. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, but you can replay it to get more powerful and then do the hardcore. And so of course that's what I'm doing because I'm ridiculous. But speaking of ridiculous,
that we agree with.
Yeah. Speaking of ridiculous, I've been dying all week to talk about Concord. So let's hop into the headlines of the week. So, shocker or not so much shocker, of course, if you've been listening to the podcast, Concord shuts down after 14 days after launch. Concord, this article came from Kotaku. And it says Concord is shutting down its servers on September 6th, which is today, Friday, that you're listening to this, and will not be playable after its developers, quote unquote, explore other options for the sci-fi shooter released last month on PS5 and PC. The game struggled to find an audience, never cracking over 1,000 current players on Steam, and quickly became a flop, which is also derided by many fans. It looks like Firewalks and Sony Studios shared a message to fans and said, Concord fans, we've been listening closely to your feedback since the launch. And we want to thank everyone who has joined this journey aboard the North Star. Your support and passion has grown around the game and has meant the world to us. However, while many qualities of the experience resonated with players, we also recognize that other aspects of the game and our initial launch didn't land the way that we intended. Therefore, at this time,
putting it lightly, I think.
Right. Therefore, at this time, we have decided to take the game offline beginning September 6th and explore options, including those that will better reach our players. So, what do you guys think? Reactions?
I mean, hashtag stop chasing trends. This is a total they released this game that they thought it was going to be, the hero shooter was still going to be hot, and it nosedived. I definitely think this is going to be a huge pivotal moment. I think this is a pivotal moment in gaming, what we're seeing here. It is going to be a wake-up call. I don't think this is the end of this story, we're going to see the ripple effects of this game for a long time. I know Sony's trying to kind of shrug it off, but this is truly insane. There's been games that are much more mediocre and lower profile that have lasted longer than this potentially $100+ million game, that first party Sony game. It is truly unbelievable. My jaw dropped when I saw this news. It was truly, I mean, I know we were kind of roasting the game, but I never thought it would shut down in this capacity. Something that I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat. Something that I am thinking about with this game is there like a tax write-off sort of something?
Well, Sony's got multiple opportunities. I agree. But first, before we talk about what's next for the game, Maulding, I want to get your reaction because I think you're spot on, Lord, with everything you said. Maulding, what's your reaction?
I do not think anyone is going to learn any lessons from this. I think you give them way too much credit. And if they do learn lessons, it's probably going to be the wrong ones. And they're probably going to be like, well, you could choose your pronouns in this game, so let's not do that anymore. And they're going to blame those little things rather than having an 8-year development cycle on a game that was popular, could have been popular 8 years ago, but just didn't have a chance now. Really, those character designs were really bad. When I saw what they had cooked up, like, they just did not look good. It just, all around, it just screamed like it was going to fail. And that's really disappointing. And I'm sad that no one, I can't imagine that the people working on it didn't sound alarms, but when you're in it, like, you don't think that it's gonna fail like this. Has there ever been a game that shut down like this? The only thing I could think of was Battleborn, which was another MOBA like shooter that came out at the exact same time of Overwatch. I bought it full price. They shut it down like a month, 2 months later, maybe. I did not get a refund for it.
That was
I think it was a year.
Oh,
it was a 2-monther? I thought it was a year.
I thought it was I did like a little bit of research seeing what games have also shut down really quickly. Maybe it was like a year and 2 months then. Maybe I just like looked at the year incorrectly. But it was quick. And this one, I think, does take the cake just in terms of release to shutting down. That is 2 weeks. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks to 8 years of development. Incredible.
Crazy.
Incredible.
Yeah, what's your take, Dan? I think that is, well, I think this becomes the new, horror story, worst case scenario when it comes to these games. Kind of like you guys said, it's the high cost and it's the long development cycle, and they're not going to recoup any of this. And some analysts estimated that they made less than $1 million on this, which we know it cost way, way, way more than that. So,
if they refund all the money, they can't have, like, how did they make any money if they got to refund
that's true. Like with the sales that they made, I'm saying, good point.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're
saying. Yes. So I think I agree with everything you guys say, and it's curious to see what happens next. I do want to talk about their next online multiplayer game, but before we get there, what do you guys think is next for Concord? What does Sony do? Do they take the tax write-off? Do they make changes? And if they make changes, what changes are they making? Lord?
Wait, so you do think a tax write-off situation is actually
I'm asking you. I mean, I'll let you know what I think, but I want to hear.
I think, you hear about movie, like there's that Wile E. Coyote movie that it was very high.
I would totally watch that, by the way.
Yeah, I would totally watch that too. But guess what? They shelved it, and then they did the tax write-off.
Yeah, and they pulled a Batgirl on it.
So I think this is very much. I don't know. I've never heard of. Have you ever heard of a game doing that? I don't know. It just seems like potentially a thing they might do, considering. I don't know. It's so weird. It's such a weird. It's so quick. Maybe that was in their plan. They knew it was going to tank, so they're like, let's just get it out there.
I don't think they knew it was going to tank. I think that they had full. I think they had full faith in this, And what I think they should do, they've done so much work with these characters and the mocap and all of that world building work. Shut down this, which of course they did, and then build a single player game, a single player adventure game that we saw in that cinematic. That's what I want to play. Base it around that, and I think maybe they can forge a better game out of it.
Oh,
That
so
would
you
be my
think they're actually
suggestion.
going to recycle
I
Concord
think
assets to
I
make
don't know that they would, but that if they can, they should.
And you were saying
Don't let it
what
die on
player
the
game?
vine.
A what kind of player game?
Like a single player game. Make it a single player, like adventure role playing game sort of thing.
I don't think they want to invest any more money in this. And so I think the options really are write it off or just make it free to play. But if you're going to make it free to play, you've got to get out on every single platform to survive. So then they incur development costs for Xbox, Switch. Like, where else can they put this thing so that they can get as wide a net as possible? And then they also have to retool like their cosmetics. Do they suddenly then make a battle pass? Like, how does that work? They've got a lot to think through. And I think they're trying to see, okay, how much time would it take? How much development? What is the cost? And then they show that to the MBAs at Sony. And then in the corner office, they'll just put some analyst numbers together and say, okay, we think we could get this sort of audience with it or not. And I think that will determine whether it gets shelved or not. My guess, though, to be honest with you, is it does eventually just get shelved.
I'm with you on that, Dan. I think more likely than not, I think they're gonna try and forget that this one ever happened. I just, at this point, it is kind of a laughing stock kind of game. I hate to put it in that terms. It is. It has like the black mark, and it's gonna have to just be forgotten about, I think. But I like the idea of it coming back to the single player game.
Agreed. Well, either way, if it comes back single player game, which I think would be more fun, or if it comes back free to play, it's going to have a new name. It's going to be like Concord Reloaded. It's Concord Supercharged, something. It can't have that, or maybe completely renamed. I don't know, but you're right. There is a stigma now around that name, Concord. And so they've got a huge uphill battle. I did want to, before we move on, call out a couple of things just to hear your reactions on, or any thoughts if you had. But this thing cannot be understated how big it is in terms of a flop. It is phenomenal. And of course, the crowd is going crazy because some people try and defend it. In fact, one guy started a petition today trying to say, sorry, we were all busy that week. We couldn't buy your game. Please bring it back. And as of right now, or when I checked it a couple hours ago, 88 people had signed that petition. Yes, there are 88 people who legitimately still want to play the game. The second was prices for a sealed copy of this game, because it is a really famous flop, have been ranging all over the place. On average, they've been going online, eBay, around $100 to $130, but the highest listing was $18,000 for this game, and they were offering overnight shipping so that you could play the game for like 1 or 2 days before it gets shut down today on Friday.
That's some quality content right there.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other thing was, people who had bought the game were obsessed with trying to get a platinum trophy on this game that will not exist. So then when you load up the versus matches, people would just run and jump off a cliff to end the game as fast as possible so that you get some amount of XP, and so that they can level up as fast as possible. So people were putting clips online showing games that start with everyone just jumping off the cliff repeatedly. And they're like, this is the only thing that's going on in the game right now.
Oh man.
It's chaos right now, I'm telling you. So
I do like the idea of potentially getting a platinum trophy that you can no longer get. I think that's cool.
Well, if you got $18,000 and not a lot of time, you can go for it.
Oh man, not a lot of time left.
So it has been chaos. It's been morbidly entertaining. I do feel bad, and hopefully, they're able to pivot to something else. Which, speaking of pivoting, I think all eyes are turning to Sony's next live service game, which is Fair Games. And apparently it is an extraction-based shooter, kind of like Payday, with teams going in, fighting other teams for loot, and then extracting. I believe that's the premise.
Hmm.
And so that's the next one. I don't think that there's a release date on that one, but it'll be interesting to see, does Sony continue the course with these games trying to find another hit, or like they had with Helldivers, or are they going to pivot back to single player games? So well, I'll keep an eye on Fair Games to see, the news that comes out of that one.
One thing for Bungie is shaking in their boots right now. If Marathon doesn't hit, and it has a Concord-esque type of release, I don't think it will. I think Marathon has a little bit more. I mean, I don't think anybody knew about Concord. So Marathon has a leg up in that department. People know of Marathon. So we'll see if that has success.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. But speaking of games that have had success, of course, is Baldur's Gate. And Maulding, you had a story about the latest patch.
Yeah, the patch 7, which I think might be the last major patch for Baldur's Gate 3, went live on PC yesterday, which was Thursday. And it's a huge patch, mostly because it is going to give access for modding. So you could do modding on PC with your own assets and stuff, but now it's going to be handled directly by the game. And modding is not something I know a lot about because I'm not a PC player, and there's only a few console games that allow it. But eventually, we're looking at October, though this update will roll out to the consoles, and you will be able to play modded Baldur's Gate 3 on consoles. And that is just going to open up so many opportunities for this game to play different versions of it. People will create their own content, and you'll be able to play things like a horde mode, which I saw was one option. Lots of different things in this update. A couple other things that they put out is when you play local co-op on it, before it would be a split screen the whole time, but now with this update, if you and your buddy are near each other, this two screens will collide, and you'll just get one
Like
screen.
Lego.
It's actually,
Oh,
yeah, exactly, yep. So that was part of this, and then they added another thing for me, which is great, is they added some new endings for your Dark Urge run, which I'm holding off on finishing mine until the update comes out on console.
I read that
Super
and thought of
excited.
you and wanted to ask if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
were going to do that.
Nope, I haven't. Yes, I'm waiting for the update so I can get those juicy new cutscenes. And then what was the last thing? Oh, they added some stuff for the honor mode, some new legendary actions for your enemies to make it just a little bit more difficult to get those golden dice.
wow.
So yeah, I thought this game has been supported by those developers for a year, and with this they say, hey, we need to scale back. This is probably going to be our last one, and we need to move on to some other games. But man, this is seven updates in a year. They just really supported this game, as they should. It's one of the best games I've ever played, and that I think a lot of people agree with me on that. You guys should play it. Just play the game. I don't understand you're not playing the best game in the world.
You're right. Like and now that there's mod support, I mean, I don't dive into the mods so much myself, but I love seeing people get very creative, and I know that elevates the status of the game so much to a lot of gamers' eyes. Like, you're able to get in there, make it as customized as you want, and people love it.
Yeah, I think someone put together. Oh, sorry. I think someone put together, which I'm super excited to play, like a roguelite kind of version of it, where you'll go through stages and it's just fighting. So you'll fight the enemies, and then at the end you'll gather supplies and try to prepare for the next fight and the next fight. And that just alone sounds so much fun, and I would be super excited to play that.
The problem with mods is that they disable the achievements for mods. So I'm like,
they do, yeah.
A little bit of a bummer, but I totally respect them, and I especially like the PC ones when they get the nudie mods, which is always fun. Being a representative or pervert, but this game doesn't even need a nudie mod because I hear that it's already
swinging dick. Yeah, just in the character creator. Yep.
I mean, Man, what are they going to do, Maulding? What is the naughty thing they could potentially add to this game if it's already there?
I mean, in my Dark Urge run, I got some oral pleasure that was very gratuitous. So I don't know what they can do to it to make it more adult.
All right, nice.
Sounds awesome. Speaking of games that are getting content added to it, Lord, you had a story about Helldivers 2.
Yeah, so Helldivers 2 is finally getting another enemy called the Illuminate. So this is coming from Kotaku. So the highly advanced race of aquatic enemies face players in the first Helldivers, but at the sequel's launch, there was no traces of the Illuminati. The lore reason for this is they were thought to have already been exterminated by humanity, but Helldivers is rife with unreliable in-game propaganda, and players have suspected the blue aliens might be returning when Arrowhead determined the price is right. Oh my god, I want to use some of that. And today they got their first glimpse. Multiple players started reporting flashes of a new alien faction on the galactic war map in the Rictus sector on Wednesday. And there's a screenshot here. Does
it look legit though? Because they've been saying the Illuminate are going to come. They've been saying they're from the first game. They're going to come to the second game for since the game launched. They were supposed to be the third enemy.
It looks like a legit screenshot, and this is coming from a Reddit post, and this guy saying just had this on the map and then it vanished. Wrote Snake Hips Findlay on
Snake Hips.
I
mean, when it lie. Snake Hips don't lie.
When it comes from Snake Hips don't lie.
Sounds legit.
So let me. Okay, so this is the Arrowhead response to this. They said system outage update. Some Helldivers may have noticed a recent service outage in the major order communication display. The issue has since been resolved. And then the in-game, and this is back to the article, the in-game lore reason for the faulty display was a technician who got trapped in a server room and melted into the hardware, but players have long been trained to take these glitch sightings as part of the intentional rollout plan by the developers to build mystery and intrigue. And if it is a tease, cool. I think that's fun. Like that's awesome. I to be honest though, when I hear it's just an enemy from the first game and we've been waiting for so long, I'm a little bit like, come on, we can do better than an enemy from the first game. Like this game needs fresh content and we're not getting fresh content essentially. I mean, I'm on a little bit of a Helldivers like push back phase, but it's like, am I in the wrong here, Dan? Like, come on.
I think it's world building and lore. So that's what they're trying to do, is just do more world building and bring back something that people might be familiar with who played the first game, even though the first game was completely different than this. I think it's fine as long as they hurry their ass up.
Yeah. Yeah. Like if we have to wait another 90 days for this to come out, then we have a big problem.
For sure.
Maulding, how do you feel about it?
I think your discussion is legitimate or legitimate, as some might say. And other than that, I have nothing to say.
Oh yes, perfect. I mean, like, Dan, will this bring you back to Helldivers getting a new
100%. 100%. I got to know what the new enemies like and how to fight them, and then I'm going to want to know what the right armor is and the right guns and what's the right strategy, and then how many different kind of characters. I mean, yes. Hell, yes.
What is your take on the aquatic enemy?
I don't know.
Yeah. Is that these? They're
aquatic.
Yeah.
That's what they said in the article. Maybe
didn't bust out some shock weapons or something. Fry those suckers. We'll have some fried fish for dinner.
Yeah, we can have some fish fry.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I agree with you though. I'll definitely be playing once the new enemy drops.
Yep, agreed. And speaking of games I can't wait to play, that it should be dropping soon, we've got a new article we got a review roundup, Maulding, for Zelda Echoes of Wisdom.
These aren't technically reviews. These are previews. I don't know what the difference is. So these are people I think that got to play it maybe at Gamescom. It didn't say in the article, but this is the previews are in for the Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and I want to just say a couple of these. All of them that I'm looking at are positive, but this is coming from NintendoLife.com, so take that with a grain of salt. But these are all legitimate news sources. And so Mashable said that Echoes of Wisdom is a hybrid between what Zelda used to be and what Zelda is now. In other words, it seems to be taking the more structured, puzzle-based overworld and dungeon design from the old Zelda games and giving players a mechanical tool set more akin to the last two comparatively freeform entries, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. So that wasn't technically a review, other than just saying what it is. But The Verge says it feels like Nintendo supercharged the classic top-down Zelda formula by infusing it with many of the franchise's cleverest innovations. It's not exactly an open world or classic Zelda, but it's something new, and it's a perfect fit for the princess. Love that. Destructoid said the wait for its September 26th launch date is now much more difficult. So far, the Tri-Rod is a brilliant idea for a Zelda-led Odyssey. Using it to tactfully solve puzzles and fight enemies felt natural and engaging. And then Polygon said that it may not have the gargantuan scope of recent 3D Zelda games, but it does appear to have similarly creative gameplay and player flexibility. It plays like a classic Legend of Zelda game, though parrying old school puzzle solving and dungeon crawling with ingenuity, resulting in a magical combination of styles. Zelda's first solo adventure already feels like a winner. So I know, Dan, you were not very excited about this game at the last view of it. Has that changed with these reviews coming in?
No, I to be honest with you, I think it's even cemented it and made me even more hesitant. I think those previews are pretty polite. That's what they are.
Oh yeah, you think so?
Yes.
It sounds a little polite, but it also sounds like they're going back to cool puzzler roots with this, and I liked Link's Awakening a lot. I thought that the fun cartoon vibe is cool, so I think I'm going to be picking this one up for day one. I think
I'm picking it up day one too.
Yeah, I'm going to be picking this bad boy up.
Sweet, I'll borrow it from you guys when you're done.
Yeah. But someone did say, not in this article, but another article, that there was a version of Zelda that fought. So it wasn't just summoning monsters to fight for you. There was like a battle stance sort of thing that you could do to actually do the fighting. So that made me feel a little bit better, since I didn't just want to conjure monsters to fight for me.
Yeah, I heard there's like some sword play. Like you can do.
Phew. Thank God.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to buy it anyway, Dan. What do you care?
You're right, but I'm going to play it later, and after you guys are finished on your copy, and I want a sword. Well, speaking of a game that actually is really getting good reviews, let's talk about Astrobot for 2 seconds. I know not everyone is the platformer fan that I am, but this game is looking phenomenal. I've loved the past incarnations. I didn't play the VR one, but I did play the free one that came with the PS5. And this game, let's see. I have an article here from The Gamer, and it says, Astrobot opens to 93 on OpenCritic, heralded as a must-play platformer. So this collects a few of the reviews, but it says in the intro, the critics across the board praise it as its vibrant levels and clear nods to PlayStation classics, as it holds the highest possible badge on OpenCritic of Mighty, along with an average score of 93, and all critics recommend it so far. Then it dives down to each one and says, IGN scored the game a 9 out of 10, praising its collection of endlessly inventive levels, saying that it never once becomes even remotely dull or repetitive. Eurogamer gave it full points with 5 stars, praising it as sustained a tech demo that never runs out of new wonders to show you. And VG247 likewise went with 5 stars, simply saying that the game is perfect. So, it's basically becoming one of the best games reviewed of the year. Forbes wrote an article by Matt's friend Paul Tassi, and it says, PS5 Astrobot reviews, : it's the best game of the year. While everyone was hoping that Sony's Astrobot would be good, I'm not sure anyone was predicting what's happened here, and we're now seeing an enormous win for PlayStation in a week where it badly needs one. As it stands, with dozens of Astrobot reviews, it is currently the best scoring full game of the year. It has a 94 Metascore, rocketing it to the game of the year contention, if not being a clear frontrunner at the moment. It's being called one of the best platformers ever, right up there with the classics, and the reviews are just absolutely glowing. So I know you guys aren't platformers, but this news makes me, as a platform lover, super pumped. Now, I know the time comes in probably closer to like 12 to 15 hours of gameplay, and that's if you're not collecting all of the extra side stuff. But it's the colors and the PlayStation content and the robot and like just the platform. It's a great mascot, I think. It definitely has the potential to rival Mario, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. Does this review scores do anything for you guys?
Those reviews sound a little polite to me, Dan.
Yeah, those were polite reviews.
Okay, you guys are dicks. You guys are really good scores.
I'm I am not excited for this game. I think PlayStation was like, we need to get Game of the Year talk on Astrobot because Concord, we just took that out behind the barn and shot it in the face. We need Astrobot to take off to the moon.
I don't think it has any Game of the Year contention helps. I like the hype. I like to get excited, but no.
I think it is cool, but Maulding, yeah.
The hype has me more interested in it than I was before. Everything said that it was funny and fun to play, and that it was constantly doing new things, which I really like. So maybe what's the price point on it? Did anything say
$60?
Oh, no, I'm not going to do it for 60. So I'll wait until it goes on sale.
Wow.
40? Yeah, I'd do it for 40, but not
for sure.
60.
I kind of feel the same way. I'm pumped on it. I don't want to pay 60 either.
No.
40, I think 40 would be the price that they should be launching it at. And especially if they just want a huge sales, like volume sales, I think that would be positive for them right now. Yeah. I don't know, just like the platformer, in my opinion, I just feel like, I mean, I need to get my hands on it, but it just feels like we've already done it with the PS5 tech demo. Like, where can they go, Dan? I mean,
well, we'll have to pay $60, but we can find out. Apparently, it's good places.
True. I mean, that's insane. Okay.
Well, that game looks amazing, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. But one thing that doesn't look so amazing is the Minecraft movie trailer that came out this week. Did you guys get a chance to look at it, and what are your thoughts?
Awful.
Sure did. Oh, yeah.
It looks terrible. It looks so bad. Whoever decided to put what's his name, Aquaman guy, in that outfit
with that hair,
I don't know. With that hair, what are they doing? Like, it's
so bad. It's visually offensive, and I get. Look, we're not the target audience here. It's obviously marketed towards children, but even children are going to look at this and say, "We've seen better on YouTube." But the graphics are just completely awful. They're done by someone who's actually never played the game clearly, because they don't look like they're supposed to look at all. And I don't know how hard it is. The game never should have live action, but these people that are in it, it's the stupid fish out of water story the same time. And then when Jack Black shows up at the end and he's like, "I'm Steve," we're like, "Oh, kill me." It's just so bad.
When I saw Jack Black, I knew we were in trouble. I'm like, that dude has to cease being in video game movies like right now. But I'm honestly, I wasn't super offended by the look.
At least it wasn't Chris Pratt. I was like thanking God. So yes, it was Jack Black who
honestly, I would have taken Chris Pratt over Jack Black.
Whoa. That you've gone way too far there, brother. That is way too far. You crossed the line.
Honestly, I liked his Mario a lot. I thought he nailed that. So I'm gonna have to give him.
We're gonna have to discuss that after this podcast.
I can't stand Jack Black. I've never thought he was funny. His shtick just doesn't do it for me. And if anyone, this movie is the reason that Tenacious D broke up. It's because Jack Black needed to save face to be able to do this movie and do all the promo for this for this movie, and he broke up a friendship with what is Kyle Gass or whatever his name is, the other guy, Tenacious D, because of it. So yeah. It's just terrible. It just looks so bad. Make it it's just Jumanji. It's just like 10 other video game movies or Fish Out of Water where they get pulled into another world. It's just there's nothing new here. They should have just made it a straight up animation, straight up like animated movie if they were going to do anything. But to have these real people who just look awful, it's just bad. Bad.
It is really bad. And my guess is this sucker flops harder than.
Do you think it's going to be worse than Borderlands?
Worse than Borderlands. It's going to be a disaster. Borderlands is going to be Oscar bait compared to what's going to happen here with.
So I think the movie is probably going to be worse than Borderlands, but I think it's going to do better financially than Borderlands.
Yeah, good point. Good distinction.
More people know the Minecraft IP than they do Borderlands. So I think you're going to get more.
Yeah, there's like a potential Five Nights at Freddy's in this, I think. Like, it could do better than what we are expecting. Like, I didn't think Five Nights at Freddy's was going to do well, and all of a sudden, like, everyone was talking about that movie.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Well, they both look like horror movies to me, that's for sure. All right, let's move on now to our emails of the week. This week, Hella Dope Guy writes into goodplayingwithyou@gmail.com, just like you can, and says, "Been a minute, boys. Love the pod. I'll always remember skateboarding out in front of my house with my mom pulling up, asking if I had heard that there was a new Matrix game had been released on the PS2. I hadn't. And she said, hop in, let's go to Toys R Us and buy it. Such a beautiful memory from mommy. Same lady that brought home a NES top loader so she could play Tetris when we went to bed. Legend."
Oh.
What about you, lads? What was a surprise game moment from a loved one? Big love, Hella Dope Guy.
Maulding, take it away.
Yeah, so this is a really nice story that I really like. Christmas, I don't know what year it was, but it was whatever year that my mom was renting the Super NES console. It was Christmas, all the gifts under the tree were wrapped, and I could see obviously that none of them for me were a Super NES. There were no boxes that matched the shape, and I was probably being a little brat because I was so upset that I was not getting this gift. Come Christmas Eve, when my family would open presents, opening them, my sister opened her gift, and they wrapped a Super Nintendo and gave it to her instead of me as a joke. But the joke was that it was for me, but it was wrapped and given to my sister instead.
Now I get where your troll sense of humor comes from.
yeah. It was a good troll. So because I wasn't shaking or looking at any of the gifts my sister got, it totally caught me by surprise, and no longer did I have to rent a Super Nintendo because I had one of my very own. So thanks, Mom and Dad, for that. That's a very fond memory that I have.
That's awesome. I want to go right after you because I had a very similar experience, and it's funny. It's the same thing with the parents effing with you because it was my birthday, and I remember I looked at the gifts too, and I did not see the Super Nintendo that I had been begging for. And my parents didn't really know video games very well. Like, they tried to pay attention, but they didn't really know. And I had to try to educate them as much as possible. And so I'm opening my gifts or whatever. And I didn't have that many, but one of the ones I opened was the Super Mario World. So I'm like, what is this? And I'm looking at them like, what does this mean? I have no idea. Like, you guys know this goes to a Super Nintendo. And when I said that, man, Oscar-worthy performance. My mom was like, "Oh, that doesn't go in your little other Nintendo. This is a different Nintendo." And I'm like, "I've told you, Mom, there's a new Nintendo." And so, I mean, I was crushed. She totally got me. Like, awesome mom, awesome acting. So the whole time I'm like looking at it, and she's like, "I'll take you to the store and you can return it and get a Nintendo game that fits in your other Nintendo." And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just keep this one because eventually I will save up enough money to get my Super Nintendo. And then so I end up like the rest of my presents were like socks and shirts. And that's the problem with being a kid in October is you get all your fall clothes and stuff like that, all the crap you don't want, but you got to like act appreciative because you know your parents spent a lot of money. But all the while I'm side-eyeing that little console, the cartridge, wondering when I would ever get to play it. And then they told me to go look in the garage. And when they said that, I was like, oh, yeah, we're in the money. So I took off like a shot. I clipped myself on the door, and I thought I like pretty much almost dislocated my elbow or shoulder. But I was limping or whatever, made it there. And sure as hell, when I opened the garage, they had the lights on, and there was my Super Nintendo. And whew, best birthday of my life.
Was it plugged in out of the box, or was it in the box?
No, they didn't know how to plug in anything on the back of the TV. I wouldn't trust them with the electronics, even at that young age.
Yeah, same here. I know, me too.
Yeah. What about you, Lord?
That's so good. I have like a gift moment, but I also just have a fond memory just with my mom. And we had a TV in my parents' room, and my dad would, and I, for some reason, had my PS2 hooked up to that TV. And I remember I would just wake up super early, and my mom would already be awake, and I would go in there and I'd play The Thing on the PS2, and my mom would sit there and watch me play The Thing because I was too scared to play it by myself. And I was probably in like middle school or something, and I'm playing The Thing, and it's just like I had my companion who was my mom just sitting there. She didn't mind just sitting and watching. And my dad did not like video games. He was very big into like, get out of the house and do not play video games. So I had this fun excuse waking up super early before my dad was even awake. He was asleep in the bed next. And then my mom would sit and we were just playing The Thing. She probably had no idea what the heck was going on because that game was totally cuckoo, but it was really, really cool. And I have just a cool memory of that. And it was nice to hang with my mom. And then,
wait, that's awesome. And so are you going to get the remake? They're remastered.
Oh yeah. I'm going to get the remake. I love The Thing on the PS2 still holds up. I just played it on the Steam Deck and it was awesome. I love that game. So I'm really pumped for the remake.
Are you still scared of it?
Oh yeah. It's a scary game. It's like gives you all this, like, you're like not trusting your teammates and stuff. It was really cool. Good.
That's just like this podcast.
Exactly. You can't trust them. And then one random Black Friday, fast forward a few years, we go to Black Friday at Best Buy, and I'm like, Dad, I really want this Xbox. And I just like shot I just like shot the shot. I was like, I want the Xbox. And my dad was like, yeah, go get it. Throw it in the cart. And I was like,
what?
Are you serious?
Wow.
I'm like, all right. And so I got it. I got Counter-Strike was on the OG Xbox. I got a copy of Counter-Strike, which
you must have asked at the right time, like right during his payday or his Christmas bonus period or something. There was something about your timing that was kismet there.
Timing was prime because I got the Xbox. It was really cool. I don't know even how much it cost at that time because it probably was a few years after it had been out, and came up with an Xbox. It was great. And I couldn't believe that my dad actually bought me a console. Like it was so random, honestly, when I think back on it, but
those are the best times as a kid though.
I know. It was awesome. And it really, I think, solidified my love for Black Friday at that time too, because it was like 1 a.m. and maybe he was just sleep deprived and didn't know what I was asking for, but yeah. Awesome.
Or he just needed you to be quiet.
Yeah. He's like,
I gotta go home.
Shut this kid up.
If you like those picks, check out this video of 6 of the best games we rented from Blockbuster. Did we pick any of your faves? Be sure to check out the video and find out. And if not, sound off in the comments.